What is going on with Modern Warfare 2 right now? This game had one of the most successful and highest selling Call of Duty launches in history, but now people are saying the game is dead. And what makes this really weird is that they're not necessarily wrong. The player counts have been going down, people have seen their viewership drop, but worst of all, shipment is gone. I can't believe they actually did it. They removed the tiny square map! I'm gonna do some third-person mosh pit to see if I can find some lobbies that are not as sweaty. Apparently that's a thing. Like, if you play game modes in this game that don't have as mmany players and are not as populated, you can find easier lobbies. I'm gonna casually test this live while I talk about why Modern Warfare 2 has been on the decline. Nice bounce. What was that? That's not even possible. What is this lag? Okay, so since technology loves me, my recording stopped after 4 minutes. So instead of Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 gameplay, I'm going to be bringing you guys some Infinite Warfare gameplay, because why not? I do apologize in advance if the gameplay does not match what I'm talking about at all. That's just how it is. The first thing I want to talk about is the player counts going down for Modern Warfare 2, because I think there are some reasons that explain exactly why it's happening. Whether you love this game or hate this game, it doesn't matter. There are some things that can objectively explain why there's less people playing. We gotta keep in mind that it's mid-January right now. I mean, people are going back to school, they're going back to work. They don't have nearly as much free time to pour into playing this game. That's just how it is. The only people with the unlimited freedom to play this game however much they want are basically children and YouTubers and Twitch streamers. But basically everyone else is not going to be able to play as much as they were before. On top of that as well, it should go without saying that Infinity Ward took a holiday break, so there's not any serious, like, meaningful updates or patches to the game. There's no real extra content aside from, like, some store bundles here and there, which to me doesn't even constitute as actual new content. It's not anything substantial or meaningful, you know? And if you guys have been keeping up with my recent Modern Warfare 2 videos, you already know that I've been talking about how development cycles work and how it's most likely true that the main Infinity Ward dev team is not even actually working on this game anymore. There's a very good likelihood that they're storyboarding the next game. They most likely have a smaller, separate part of the studio that is going to continue to listen to community feedback and change the game, tweak things, put out the patches, release the DLC, which unfortunately means that no matter how much feedback or suggestions we give, it's most likely not going to influence anything for this game. At most, if Treyarch is listening, then it might be able to influence their next game. That's just how it goes, man. If you look at the track record for any recent Call of Duty game, we can give as much advice and suggestions as we want, but the bigger and bolder your ideas get, the less likely they are going to actually happen in the current COD game. Which honestly, it just kind of blows, because I've got some amazing suggestions for this game, and I've seen plenty of other YouTubers and the community itself just give so many amazing suggestions, but it's all going to fall on deaf ears. In this regard, I do feel like things are hopeless, but I'm going to continue to give my feedback and suggestions. It might not be able to have that much of an impact or any impact at all on this game, but I'm still gonna try. I'm definitely very skeptical that meaningful change is going to happen, but I'm still gonna do my best. The main reason being that there's actually a lot of things that I like about this game, but if it just had a couple of little tweaks here and there, it could be a significantly better game. Some of the changes I'm about to mention are kind of big changes, so I don't think they will happen, but then some of them are actually smaller ones. More realistic ones that could happen in this game's life cycle. But I'm not gonna lie, man, I have not been playing Modern Warfare 2 as much as I was around the time of launch and a little bit after launch. At this current point in Modern Warfare 2, you guys know, I'm maxed rank, I've got all the camos, I've done basically everything you can do in multiplayer, aside from grinding for the mastery weapon charms, which is just terrible. It's a terrible reward, and I have really no incentive to go for them. But even though I'm max rank and I have the camos and stuff, it got me thinking, like, is this my fault? Like, is this a problem with the game's progression, or is it just because of the way I play? Because one thing I have noticed is that the way that I play video games nowadays is very different than how it used to be. Like I was kind of hinting at earlier, since YouTube is my full-time job, I get to play this as much as I want or don't want to. Whereas before, when I was still going to school and stuff like that, and this wasn't a full-time job, I feel like I looked forward to playing games more because my time was more limited, which also meant that I didn't have nearly as much time to be able to pour into leveling up, going for camos and all that. I would still play a shit ton of Call of Duty, but I feel like it's just the mentality, you know, it changed. Or possibly the perspective, you know what I mean? Nowadays, when it comes to playing video games, I go hard on the grind, and I get things done at a much faster rate than normal. And obviously, some of that has to do with getting content out for you guys. But I have noticed that this translates to other games that I don't even upload or post to YouTube. I'm not gonna go super in depth on it, but a prime example for me is Pokemon Violet. I've already beat the entire game. I have all of the Pokemon. I have the shiny charm. I've done shiny hunting, beat the 7-star raids. I've done everything, you know what I mean? So nowadays, if I'm playing that game, I'm just playing it for my own enjoyment. But I think what's kind of happened in my mind is that if I don't feel like I'm progressing something, I could be progressing it on a different game, or just doing something that's gonna be a better use of my time, you know? Now, if we translate that to how this affects Modern Warfare 2, if I'm playing this game, it's basically just to try out different classes, goofy builds, go for clips and stuff like that, but there's nothing inherently in the game that's going to keep me playing. And this is where my suggestions come into play. I think the number one biggest thing that this game's multiplayer is missing is classic prestige mode. You know, that silly little thing where you would hit the max level in the game and then you would get a chance to reset and do it all over again, and you could do that 10 times and earn unique icons and extra classes, things like that. You know, one of the most unique and core fundamental building blocks of Call of Duty's progression system, yeah, that thing. I'm kind of thinking that we might need that back in the game. I will admit that they improved seasonal ranks by actually keeping it at like 250 instead of resetting it to 0 every season, but it's still terrible. But then you have to ask yourself the question, is this still better than classic prestige mode? No, it just isn't. One of the best parts about the original Call of Duty games was seeing what the prestige icons were going to be and then deciding which one you wanted to stop at. I remember being so indecisive when it came to World of War. I was like, ooh, I really like the 5th prestige icon. I'm gonna stay there. And then I got bored and I wanted to level up some more, so I was like, okay, I'll keep going. I stopped at 7 for a bit, then I stopped at 8, and then 9, and then ultimately I went all the way. But you know, if you wanted to stay at a certain prestige just because you like the icon, you could do that. And that would be a unique part of your game's identity because you would always have that icon. We don't even have that anymore. That's just not even a thing. Granted, in Cold War, I think you could actually change the icons and stuff. Oh! Keep getting flashed mid-streak. This is what I'm saying, man. Like, they should nerf the flashbangs, but they haven't done anything. That's an example of one of the smaller changes they can make, but they haven't done it. This next idea is something that I was actually talking over with Karina. She came up with it first, but I kind of put my own little spin on it. I think it'd be really cool if they had limited time events for content like weapon camos, operators, skins. Not necessarily like the battle pass, but something that's a little bit smaller. Think of it almost like a condensed weapon camo grind, where for roughly a week or two, there's gonna be a limited time camo or operator or skin that you can grind for. Do that instead of trying to constantly sell us $20 bundles. It'll keep people playing the game longer because you can pump more tiny little mini events into the game and keep people grinding the game and wanting to play it. I think that would really help with the content drought that we're getting in the game right now, where we don't have any new maps, there's not a lot of great new game modes, there's not new weapons. The biggest staple of Call of Duty games is the progression system and keeping people progressing and unlocking new things. And if there is a good reason to keep getting on this game every single week or every other week, that will definitely keep people playing longer. Which also brings me to my next point. If you look at the featured game modes here, these should be getting cycled out at least once a week, if not twice a week. I think this could really help with the player base's frustration with the removal of shipment, because right now we have Shoot House and we don't know when this is going to go away. Like, when is Infinity Ward going to take out Shoot House 24/7 and then bring back shipment 24/7? Now, personally, I think the best thing they could do is actually just have a server browser, but we'll get into that later. But if we just try to look at the way that they have this system currently implemented, I just kind of feel like they should cycle these game modes in and out more often. I will admit that this is more of like an artificial means of keeping the game more fresh and alive. I still think it would help. I just really don't think that anyone wants to be stuck with just Shoot House 24/7 or even shipment 24/7 for more than 2 weeks. That shit gets stale really fast. But obviously, I see a major counterpoint to this, which is that if people like a certain game mode, they might not be able to enjoy and play it for that long. But look, man, if it was up to me, I would keep all of these core game modes that we have right here in the game at all times, which they are doing. I would also have a separate tab for party games that you could also filter in a similar way. But some of these modes here, like third-person mosh pit, Shoot House 24/7, shipment 24/7, shoot the ship, control, whatever, they could cycle them in and out more often to keep things more fresh. While I'm here at the menu, here's something that I do not understand about the game. If we go to Spec Ops, you can see that I have 3 stars for all of these Spec Ops missions. But I have not played them in like a month. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to earn these stars every single week, but they have not reset for me at all. I don't know if I have to get 3 stars for every single one and then it's gonna reset. Like, I don't know if I can keep grinding this in order to be able to get more stuff for the veteran raid. It's just really confusing, and it makes it harder to get into the game and want to grind this and play this instead of multiplayer. Because I literally don't know if I'm gonna be able to earn more stars if I replay some of these missions. And even though Warzone 2 is a completely different beast, I do want to talk about it as well. This needs some serious improvements if they want to keep people playing it. I really do feel like one of the biggest issues with Warzone 2 right now is that they're not listening to the community's feedback, and they're just going to keep the game mostly how they want to keep it. It's one thing if you treat Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer like that, because people spent most likely $70 to $70+ on that game. But Warzone 2 players who got this game for free, they're gonna fucking leave. They are free-to-play players, man. They can play any game they want, and they're not going to stay on this game, and they're going to abandon it more easily because they didn't invest any money into it. The most they could have spent on Warzone 2 is in the store, but there's really not a reason to buy anything in the store. There's gonna be a good chunk of people who download Warzone 2 just to see what it's like, and if they don't like it, they're going to leave. And most likely never gonna come back unless the game sees some significant changes to improve it. I think across everything that I've invested my time onto on this game, whether it's multiplayer, DMZ, campaign, Warzone 2, truth, I think I've poured well over a week into this game, and I believe without a doubt there's two things in this game that are going to ruin it no matter what. And the sad truth is that it's most likely not going to be changed at all. The first thing being the perk system in this game. I think it has completely crippled the game's chance to get better. The whole bonus perk and ultimate perk thing, I think, is just a completely unnecessary innovation to the game. One of the best parts of the original Warzone was having your own custom loadouts. You could build your guns however you wanted to, you could pick your own perks, but in Warzone 2, you're more limited, which makes no sense. This is supposed to be the better, more refined version of Warzone, but instead, you're more limited. You can't choose whatever perks you want for your loadout because, oh, that would be too powerful. So are they admitting that the perk system is broken and not that great? If it makes the meta too stale and stuff like that, then why did they design it in such a way? And as far as it goes for how the perk system affects multiplayer, I mean, I think we all know how that goes. You have to wait for the match to be roughly halfway over before you can actually play the way you want to, which over time really does kind of degrade the experience. It's like, damn, dude, in literally every other Call of Duty game, you can play exactly how you want to right from the start. But not in this game. Gotta wait for the match to be roughly halfway over before you can play exactly how you want to. People who like to camp wait to get their ghost, and people who like to rush around wait until they get quick fix. I think a prime example of how the bonus perk and ultimate perk systems are just really kind of unnecessary is fast hands. That perk speeds up everything in the game and makes it feel so much more fluid and smooth, but you don't get it at the start of the game like most perks. You have to wait until the game gives it to you, which means that up until that point, you kind of have to play the game differently until you actually have the perk. It's just dumb. Like, after playing so much of this game, you just get tired of having to wait to play the way you want to. So overall, regardless of whether you're playing Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer or Warzone 2, this just seems like a stupid and unnecessary change because you don't get to play Call of Duty how you actually want to play it. The more I think about it, the more I'm realizing how it's just a terrible and unnecessary change. Like, if you really think about it, does the bonus perk or ultimate perk system actually make the game better in any way? Fuck no. It's a completely unnecessary innovation, and it's actually just taking steps backwards from what Call of Duty has done before. And the second thing, which you know I'm gonna bring it up, is skill-based matchmaking, or really engagement-optimized matchmaking. I think it goes without saying at this point, we're all familiar with skill-based matchmaking, but not a lot of people know about engagement-optimized matchmaking. I've kind of briefly talked about this before when it comes to Activision's patents on the game, but just in case you guys weren't fully aware, there are things in the matchmaking system for these recent Call of Duty games that basically try to keep you more engaged with the game and also spend money on the game, which shouldn't necessarily be a bad thing because they want to keep people playing the game longer and spend more money, which will help the success of the game. But it's the way they go about doing it that really makes things shitty. And I really do feel like regardless of whether or not you agree with or disagree with skill-based matchmaking, the truth is that the public perception of skill-based matchmaking in video games is at an all-time low. It's been in the gutter for quite some time now, and it just continues to reek of shit. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I have not been playing as much Modern Warfare 2. But I have been playing more Infinite Warfare. Granted, it's not a super old Call of Duty game, but it is a Call of Duty game that came out before the whole Modern Warfare 2019 style of skill-based matchmaking. Even a game like Infinite Warfare does not force you into a brand new lobby every single time you play a multiplayer match. Like most classic COD games, when you go to find a match, you're put into a lobby, and after that game finishes, you get to stay in the same lobby. And instead of having Activision decide to force you out of that lobby and put you into a new, better, or more fair lobby, you get to use your brain and decide if you liked that lobby or not, and you can stay or you can leave. We've heard from previous Call of Duty devs that basically almost every single Call of Duty game has had skill-based matchmaking in some way, shape, or form, and that is true, but I just now realized how it used to work. It's kind of hard to remember how skill-based matchmaking used to work because of the new matchmaking systems that basically force you into a new lobby every single game. But for the sake of this example, we'll use Infinite Warfare. You load up Infinite Warfare, you go to find a game of Team Deathmatch, and you play the entire match through, and it's not the most balanced lobby, right? You know what happens instead? Instead of forcing you out of that lobby and into a different one, the game will actually just balance the teams differently in the next match, so long as the lobby stays the same and no one actually leaves it. Now, I know this can vary depending on how many people are partied up or how many solo players there are in the lobby, but that's simply how skill-based matchmaking used to work. It wasn't as predatory as it is now. As I've kept playing Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, it just gets so annoying to play a match and play with a lobby that you actually really enjoy playing with, and then you're immediately forced into something different, solely for the reason that Activision wants to manipulate the matchmaking to either keep you playing longer or spend more money on the game. It has really worn me down as time's gone on, and I'm just getting sick of it. Ultimately, what I miss the most about Call of Duty is the variety of the lobbies and being able to stay with the same group of people that you're playing with and against. Skill-based matchmaking or engagement-optimized matchmaking in Modern Warfare 2 is not really doing that. If you played a good game or if you played in a lobby that you enjoyed, you don't get to experience that back-to-back anymore. And especially if you had a really good, like, high kill game or if you played a really good match, it's basically a guarantee guarantee that your next game is not going to be like that. And on the flip side, if you're someone who's not very good at Call of Duty, the game is going to just keep putting you up against very terrible players because the game pities you and it wants to make you feel better, which is just stupid. And what's also just terrible about skill-based matchmaking in this game is that people just find ways around this shit. They'll either reverse boost or they can get VPN services that put them into bot lobbies. Obviously, that's something I would never fucking do because that's for losers. I want to play and experience this game as it's intended to, otherwise I can't give you a genuine opinion and reaction and experience for this game. I have absolutely nothing to gain by reverse boosting or playing in bot lobbies. That's just stupid. If I do have a good game on here, or if I do get a clip against people who aren't as good, it's just because that's how skill-based matchmaking works. I was most likely using a goofy setup or a terrible class or a terrible gun in the previous match, and then the game gave me a good match after. That's just how it goes on this shit. But yeah, man, I am just praying at this point that we can get back to how Call of Duty used to be. Or they could just give us a server browser so we can pick exactly what we want and we can stay in those matches if we like them. That's the kind of system that's really going to keep people playing and enjoying the game and then want to spend money on it. Realistically, for Modern Warfare 2, I don't think we're going to see things really improve and get better and actually have more to do until Season 2 is out. I do like this game enough to keep playing it and give it a try, and most importantly, bring you guys new videos when new content drops on this game. I just think things could be way better if they would actually listen to us. So with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me rant about the current state of Modern Warfare 2. I do feel like Modern Warfare 2 has been on like a steady decline right now, and I do think things could get better, but I don't think there's going to be significant improvements that will change the game in a drastic enough way to give all of us that same feeling that we had when this game first launched. But with that being said, I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did and you want Modern Warfare 2 to get better and improve, make sure to drop a like. I'll see you guys later.
I'm very familiar with hide and seek. I've been playing the game with my dad for 26 years.
My goodness.
Dear Lord.